All right. Welcome to Muscle Science for Women.
Hello.
Ashley and Rachel.
We're here.
Love it here. We love it here on the internet, and we're happy to be here. And
how's the weather in Canada right now?
It's hot, actually, and I love it. I'm pumped about it. I don't know if you guys have been hearing on the news about these heat domes, like California. I don't know if you guys like know about that because it's always just kind of warm or whatever, but it's like these just kind of like heat waves basically that are just like days of like much hotter than usual weather. Which
like
again,
what, like temperature wise, what's
like
that?
I don't know, well over 100 in your Fahrenheit.
Damn.
Whereas normally, like I live on the coast, so it's like it's very typical even in the summer for it to be just sort of like 70s, maybe like if it's in the 80s, that's hot or whatever. So very hot, and it's very humid here. And we took I posted this on social media the other day, but it was like a real rite of passage where we live, and I felt like a real parent because we took Magnus to like a water park, but we had to like drive a couple hours to this place that we went to as kids, and like you stay overnight at like a hotel, and you have, you know, the hotel breakfast, and then you go to the water park all day and just try desperately not to be dehydrated or give your kid heat stroke. And but it's super fun, and I love it because Magnus he really is into like water, which makes sense because of where we live, and like we're both very water people. He loves the water, and there's a wave pool. Everybody knows what a wave pool
Oh, I
is.
love that.
Oh,
I love a wave pool.
This kid is obsessed with the wave pool. Like he was just getting slammed by waves like over and over again and just had like the time of his life. Anyway, so it was really fun, but it is also, you know, I was saying offline, I want to like step carefully around this observation, but it's also, you know, a very interesting sort of look at the cross section of humanity, right? I'll say North America because Canada and the US basically the same. But when you see, it's like going to a amusement park, but nobody has their clothes on. And so it's just I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm noticing like the difference in the people who have, you can tell, have put a lot of attention into taking care of themselves, and the people who haven't. It just becomes more stark as you get out of your, like you can see as the decades pass, how much relatively more rare it is to see like super fit people, honestly, in their like even late 30s, but like 40s, 50s. Like, you know, at this place, like you see somebody who looks like they're well into their 40s that looks like fit, and you're like, you stand out, like you are an outlier.
Yeah.
So it's always just an interesting sociological experiment, you know, going to these amusement parks and observing. But my only sad point is that we didn't bring any grandparents so that we couldn't go down any fun slides because, you know, I know Magnus is too small to go down like the cool ones, obviously. So I didn't want to be like the adult waiting in line with like a bunch of like 16-year-olds to go down like the crazy like shoot one. I was like, I need to have like a friend with me or something. And anyway, so I didn't get to go down any cool slides, but it was very fun. So
I might have to come so we can go to the water park.
It's a really good time. There must be crazy water parks like near you, no?
I honestly haven't even looked into it. We have Disneyland right there, but I'm not a huge fan of the like Disneyland, Disney World, any type of amusement parks anymore because I'm just over it. Like I'm like, I don't want to stand in line. I don't really care about roller coasters anymore.
Yeah.
Or any of that stuff. So
yeah, that's fair.
But
I think we've talked about this before. I actually am in love with roller coasters, and I just can't do them because they make me sick now. And it makes me so sad because I like want to do crazy roller coasters, but I do one and I'm like for like 30 minutes afterwards because I guess my inner ear isn't like kicking it like it used to. I just like can't handle it. It makes me sad. But anyway, first world problems. Okay, much. We've got some questions, so why don't we just like dig into it?
Let's dig in. Which one do we want to tackle first? Or
let's do this like easy one off the bat, the protein question. And I think you're pretty good at like nerding out on this. Victoria says she's found her podcast recently and she's binging it. Love that. If you have not rated, reviewed, shared it yet, that would just absolutely make our day. Anybody listening who has not done that, please do it. It's like literally the only way we get feedback that people want to listen to our podcast. So that'd be great. Okay. She's asking about using beef protein powder, whether it is as effective as whey. Can you actually count the protein from a beef protein powder towards your daily protein goal since it does not have the complete amino acids as other sources. I know collagen is important. It's a great supplement. I'm already doing that. I don't want to add a beef protein powder source if it's all it's really doing is adding more collagen to my diet. The problem is I cannot tolerate whey. She said she's tried whey isolate and my skin breaks out like crazy. Right now I'm using egg white protein powder, but I'd love to be able to use a more fun protein powder like Active Stacks, which is our sponsor and which we love and talk about all the time. So that's the main question. Can you use beef protein powder? Is it a good source of protein?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think the other part of the question said if in one of the episodes that we did mention beef protein powder, like to consume it if you are already getting enough complete sources of amino acids in the rest of the diet. I think that's an important key piece to it.
Okay.
And we've probably talked about this because one of our sponsors that we love and talk about all the time, Active Stacks, they make beef protein and also collagen protein, which are still both different than whey protein. And the differences are just in the amino acid profile, meaning the amounts and types of amino acids that are in that specific type of protein. And so to answer the question just right off the bat, I think personally, if you are already supplementing with collagen, but you want to bring beef protein in as more of a fun source, right, to make Ninja Creamies, things like that, or just because it's really delicious, especially from Active Stacks, I would personally maybe swap days, right? So like getting first and foremost, you always want to focus on the whole foods, right? Getting your protein in from whole food sources as much as possible, and then supplementing with exactly what it is, either a beef protein or a collagen protein to help bring that protein level a little bit higher, and then also allow you to get some more, if you just quick, convenient protein, right? If you don't have time to make a meal or you just like Ninja Creamy ice cream, it's a good way to kind of bump that up. But yes, these two types of proteins are not going to be necessarily complete. However, they do have a little bit of a different amino acid profile, collagen versus beef. Beef does have a little bit more of certain ones that collagen doesn't, and in the quantities as well. So my advice would probably be, having collagen every other day, and on the days that you don't have it, just swap in the beef, right? So you're not kind of overloading the protein powder every single day, but you're still getting kind of being able to use both of them, right, for their benefits. So that's one option. To answer the question of if it does, count towards your protein, I absolutely say yes. Counts beef and collagen towards your protein. The biggest thing is that you just don't want to overdo it, right? If you're counting 3+ scoops a day, every single day in collagen or beef protein towards your protein goal, and that's taking up maybe half of your protein for the day, then you're likely not getting all of the essential amino acids that you'd want from, other foods, right? So kind of a rule of thumb is like stick to 1 to 2 scoops of those types of proteins. Yes, count them towards your protein goal for the day, no problem, but just make sure that you're filling the rest of that in with complete sources that do have the full spectrum, which would be typically your animal-based sources of protein or combining plant-based sources to create a complete protein. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I would add like a couple things too that as far as protein powders go, I think it seems to be pretty widely accepted that if you can tolerate it, whey is the best. Whey isolate is the best. It's going to have the best profile. It's going to be the most bioavailable, all that stuff. Yes. So in a perfect world, if you can tolerate it, that's the one you go for. I would also say, and I don't know the story, but she said, I tried whey isolate and my skin broke out. Did you try more than one time? And I know it's expensive, right? It's like expensive to experiment with protein powder. So I get that, but like maybe, I don't know, like if you, I think you say what you eat here too, but like if you eat dairy, if you eat Greek yogurt, if you have any kind of other dairy, maybe it's not the whey that's the problem. Maybe it was other ingredients. Maybe it was just that type that impacted you, because generally like a whey protein intolerance would probably be more on the digestive end maybe than just like breaking out. So that's something to think about too. If you have the ability to sample or try other ones, if you want, maybe don't cut out the option entirely. But then just echoing what Rachel is saying, it's like if your protein supplement is what it is, a supplement rather than the main way you're getting your protein, don't worry so much about the exact sort of amino acid profile because you're getting basically what you need from food. And this is just sort of upping it a little bit to help support your workouts and stuff. Like all other things being equal, you're not going to like not gain muscle because you're taking one scoop of collagen or beef protein a day versus a whey isolate. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be that lever isn't going to be so significant that it's the difference between success or failure in your goals, right? It's like we're just kind of looking at like the bigger picture and the consistency. Like, are you working out well and recovering and sleeping and eating really good
Mm-hmm.
whole foods? That's going to be the main driver. And then the supplement is like, does it taste good? Do you like it? Can you afford it? Is it pretty decent quality? Then it's helping. It's great, right? Like, don't get bogged
Yeah.
down in the details.
Yeah. And I would absolutely agree with the quality in the supplement. So like there's a lot of because whey is like the uh
Common and
most common, typically cheaper, the cheapest if you're getting the cheap brands, right? You're going to GNC, you have all these brands. So I would, if you've only tried out maybe one or two, trying a high quality brands. Like for example, both of our sponsors over the past few months, Paleo Valley and Active Stacks, they both produce protein powders, but they're different kinds. And I use both of them. Like I will even mix Active Stacks, which is beef protein, with Paleo Valley whey protein to make a creamy or to make a protein shake or smoothie or whatever it is. I'll do like half a scoop of each. So I'm getting, a different variety. And also it changes the texture a little bit of the Ninja Creamies. It adds, different flavor profiles. So I kind of play around with them. And there's no like, oh, you have to have this protein every single day. You can play around with them. And it's all about that. It's just like you're supplementing. If you're looking at these protein powders to use them for making different desserts or things like that, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be like only one thing. I mean, if you go in my pantry, you literally will see probably 10 plus bags and bottles of different types of proteins that I just kind of rotate through and play around with just for fun.
you got to
And
support
then,
that protein ice cream habit. You can't
yeah,
just stick with one protein powder for that. You got to keep it
yeah.
interesting.
And there are definitely ones where I notice like if some brands, they'll send us some samples and things like that. And I do notice if like some digestive stuff, if there's a brand that maybe is not as high quality. So that's a huge thing. And there's, like Ashley said, there's additives or maybe the type of sweetener that they're using might not agree with you.
Yeah.
There's all different types of things. So I wouldn't knock it completely until you've experimented a little bit.
Yeah. With that said, Active Stacks is very, very high quality.
Yes.
Just a couple ingredients. Like it's not, you look again, go to GNC and look at the back of that, and it's like 10 things. You have no idea what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Active Stacks has like 3 or 4 ingredients, something. It's like they're all
Yeah.
stuff you can recognize, but it tastes really good. It mixes really well. And, we have a discount code for you because we know that protein powder habits can get expensive. They can get pricey. And this is a good quality product, but
Yeah.
it's worth it. I'd
And
rather
it's
pay
made
up,
with stevia too.
yeah, which I personally really like.
Yeah. If
But
you're sensitive to artificial sweeteners.
and if you're gonna buy the protein powder, it's like I know we all have different sort of financial constraints, but like I'd rather buy the better stuff that actually tastes good, that I enjoy, that is also good ingredients than something that's like $10 cheaper that's gonna make me break out or something, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the code is MSW10, activestacks.com, chocolate and vanilla. They have a collagen
Mm-hmm.
product and a beef protein. Get both. I don't know. They're all delicious. Make an ice cream out of it. Enjoy your life.
Enjoy
There
your
you
life.
go.
Or also, they have I believe on Active Stacks Instagram, they have like all these different recipes for
Mm.
different things that you can make. Obviously we've talked about that before, like the protein powder recipes, but
Oh
I
yeah.
think there's some good ones.
I love a protein powder recipe. I'm old school
Yeah.
meathead that way. People are like,
Yeah.
why, why would you like waste your time making desserts with protein powder? I'm like, because I want everything I eat to have protein in it. Okay. Even
Yeah.
brownies, like sue
Hmm.
me.
I
All
was
right.
talking you remember Brie, right? I was talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
So she, like the other day, she got a dairy free because she leans more towards on the dairy free side of things. It was from this local ice cream shop, and it was like a dairy free ice cream. And she was like, it was, in a pint, she got it. And she was like, I much prefer my Ninja Creamy because you can, first of all, just from a macro standpoint, completely different, right? That even though it's dairy free doesn't mean that it's going to be like healthier or less calories, still has a
Mm-hmm.
good amount of sugar, carbs, fat, all of that versus the creamy. So I don't know. I always pick the Ninja Creamy over any other type of ice cream because I can control it and make it taste so freaking good. Like it's crazy. Anyway.
And for those of us who are volume eaters and who have, maybe issues with sugar, the reason why I love all my desserts to have protein in them is because they're more satiating. Like I can eat again, like brownies or like a high sugar, low protein ice cream forever because it's
Oh
not
yeah.
it's not filling you in any real way, right? It just tastes good and so you want to keep eating it. But if you have something that has like actual nutrition in it, your body will be like, okay, I'm getting something. I probably don't need to eat the entire thing or whatever,
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
noticed recently too, like I used to be able to slam a full pint Ninja Creamy. I do play around with the amount of protein. Like I typically only put half a scoop in. That's another
Mm.
reason because I just don't need that much in there because I get other sources of protein throughout the day.
Mm.
But I've been usually be able to like finish it. By the time I get to the end of it, it is like I'm like, okay, I'm full. Like I should
Mm.
probably, toss it. But I don't know, the last few weeks I've only been able to get like through half of it. I think it's maybe just because I've been eating more in
Mm.
general of other foods or like eating out a little bit more. So my body's kind of just like, you know, it's
Yeah.
regulating stuff like, hey, you probably don't need that whole pint, like you're full.
Do you
But it's an
also
interesting observation.
do you feel like you're the same as a lot of people too, where you actually tend to eat like a little bit less in the summer because it's like you're kind of hot or you're like outside all the time, you're doing
Yeah.
stuff. Like I feel like that's a very seasonal thing that some people end up eating less in the summer.
Yeah, that I mean, I feel like I never eat less. However, I
It's
have been
relative.
sick
Yeah.
for like a month. So I think that also plays a role in it too. My appetite has been a little wonky, so that probably is what's happening. But
Yeah.
I'm never in the category of someone who ever
Doesn't eat
uh
much.
doesn't eat much on purpose, like
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to our next question, the topic of which is bulking. Love it. That's
Mhm.
my favorite, one of my favorite topics. So, Tiffany is saying, I'm newer to your podcast. I've been listening while working out because I love it. I was listening to episode 68 about bulking and protein. And you said if you had any questions to message, here I am. Love it. She says, in January, my best friend and I made a goal that in October, we are competing in in a bikini competition. Since January, I've been working with a coach, training hard, and bumped up nutrition to 2,500 calories. I eat about 160 to 190 grams of protein a day and track my macros. She's saying I'm 35, 5'5, 130 pounds. In the last few weeks, I feel like I've hit a plateau. I've definitely seen so much growth, but do you have any tips? Yes, we always have tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
can go,
go
you
for
can
it.
go.
You go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say broken record coming in hot again. If you hired a coach and you're working with a coach, this is absolutely something that
Yeah.
your coach should be guiding you through because
Yes.
it's especially if you've been working. I mean, you said since January, work calories up to 2,500 at 130 pounds, 5'5". That is great.
Yeah, it's
That's a
a
good
good amount
amount
of
of
calories.
food. Yeah. Um, and it's been 6 months now of that, and you've already seen a lot of growth. And you know, you can in the beginning of that, right? Beginning of any new goal or any new kind of phase that you're going into, you will likely see a good amount of progress in the beginning. And then as your body can adapts, things potentially slow down. So I think this comes back to, okay, do you need to, work with your coach to be able to change things up from like either a training perspective or even potentially increasing calories more if you are someone who moves like if you're someone who moves a lot, 2,500 calories, it's all relative, right? Looking at someone who's 5'5", pounds, that is a good amount of food for sure. But if your steps are at like 15K or something, then
Mm.
versus someone's steps who are maybe 8K, it is a difference, right? And then especially in the summer too, typically people are a little bit more active because you're outside, nice weather, things like that. So I would say tips from my perspective would be continue to work. Oh no, I just deleted it by accident. Sorry,
That's
I'm on
okay.
my computer reading the question. I think I just deleted one of our emails. My bad. Anyway, tips for me would be to work with your coach, tell your coach this, say you feel like you've hit a plateau. What can you do? What are changes that you can make? If your coach does not have the ability or the resources to help you through this plateau, then
Get another
likely means that
coach.
maybe a different coach. Um, but there's always room for improvement no matter what you're doing. It's kind of just looking at, okay, where you're at, what have you been doing? Do we need to tweak some things, change up some things to be able to continue to see progress? And or is uh your kind of perception of where you're at, are you, we talked about this on the last episode, maybe it's just being a little bit more patient, like continuing to do what you're doing. Yes, maybe the results have slowed down a little bit, but doesn't mean that they've necessarily stopped. You might just need to continue to be consistent with what you're doing and kind of check back in a month or two. So
Mm-hmm. I
that's what
also
I got.
wonder, like, I'm looking at like the timing here, and this message came in like a month ago, but like if her competition is in October, you shouldn't really be bulking anymore, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
so that's the other thing is like in the last few weeks, I feel like I've hit a plateau. Is that a bulking growth plateau, or is that you're trying to lean out to get ready for this competition and that's not happening? So there's a little bit of like
Yeah, I totally missed
lack of
that part of the
clarity.
question.
Yeah, clarity there, but like you like we said, your current, like the macros that you gave us are like amazing, bulking, great, like lots of energy, go build some muscle. But the typical bodybuilding show prep is like, 12 to 16 weeks generally, where you're going to be in a pretty
Yeah.
progressive and for some people quite extreme caloric deficit. So you're probably in that right now. If you're not, your coach is not doing their
Yeah.
job.
I missed that
Um,
part of it, but yes,
like
100%. October's coming up real quick.
yeah, but it sounds good. Like it sounds like you did the right thing. Like
Yeah.
fed yourself really well. You worked really hard to like build some muscle, and then ideally there's a shorter but intense period of time where you're gonna like cut and lean out and
Mm-hmm.
show all that beautiful muscle that you built. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's really all the information we can give you for now. I hope that if you're competing in October, you're like you've kind of switched the priorities now,
Yeah.
probably because again, most women, like if you choose to do this, it's going to take the typical woman doing this really really consistently and intensely 12 to 16 weeks. If it takes too much more than that, you probably aren't in the right space. But if you're walking around lean enough that you can just walk on stage, that's a whole other story. Most people aren't. So yeah, I'd love actually like some feedback. Tell us, like, because now you're a couple months out, maybe follow up if you have any like more detailed questions or
Yeah.
feedback. We'd love to know how you did. But we love bulking. I still think like truly once a day, I'm like making a snack or a meal for myself. And I'm like, and I say this in jest because people will give me a hard time, but like, why do people have such a hard time bulking? It's so easy. It's so
Yeah,
easy. I
it
can
is.
bulk in my sleep. And I know smaller people, that's where like how much harder it is for us to lose weight because we're smaller and we eat less calories. That's where it comes in clutch when we're trying to bulk because it's very easy for us to eat more
Mm-hmm.
calories than we need if you're a like smaller human being. But I'm like, I can make like a little
Yeah,
small protein yogurt, 2,000 calories, no problem. Not even
literally.
like
Yeah.
blink an eyelash. It's so easy. Like, anyway.
I think people who say that, especially from like obviously men, it's a little bit more because
Sure.
especially if you're bigger, like you will have to
Yeah.
eat a lot of food
Yeah.
and all of that. But I think it's more so like a lack of understanding of the
Yeah.
nutrition like education, right? Because if
Yeah.
you knew the amount of calories in a scoop of peanut butter or a tablespoon of oil or butter, like
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah.
which
It's
is
real easy. Doesn't mean
annoying,
it's
but
pleasant all the time. It can be tough to
oh
eat
yeah,
a ton more food and high calorie food, but like, man, if
yeah,
if I wanted to really put my whole heart into some bulking, you guys would be amazed at what I could accomplish in a few months. I could really kill that
agreed,
game. Oh man. All right. Well,
agreed.
I think
Sweet,
we were going to do a short and sweet one today, so I think
yeah, I
that's short and sweet.
think we did it.
Everybody, send us your feedback, your comments, your questions, your funny jokes. I don't know, embarrassing
Mm,
gym stories, whatever you want to send us. Send it to musclescienceforwomen@gmail.com, the number 4, and yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about because we're here for you. That's it.
Couldn't have said it better.
All right. Till next time.
Awesome.
Enjoy your life.
Enjoy your life and
Don't do stupid
don't
shit.
be insane. Don't do stupid shit.
Bye.